Hey guys, Vince Morton, pro staff for ModernOutdoorsSportsman.com. I recently just had the opportunity to fish the opening weekend in Wisconsin at Lake Delavan. Conditions were rough, the wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour at us coming out of the south, and the water was choppy, but yet at the same time it was very clear. There was 100 boats ahead of me and no one was catching anything, and for the first hour I could not figure these fish out. So I took an extra second, looked what was going on, and just used some past knowledge that I knew would help me out. So what I did was start throwing a lipless crankbait. I chose a lipless crankbait because it makes a lot of noise, throws off a lot of flash, and it's a key springtime lure. It's one of my best favorite springtime lures. It's called the Excalibur XR50. This is in the Foxy Shad color. I like this color because it throws off a ton of flash and it makes a ton of noise. So another thing that helped me out was I was finding that these fish were chasing bait fish. And not only were that, but they were chasing these bait fish in the weeds. So I threw this Excalibur right into those weeds, right into heavy cover. I was ripping that lure through the weeds, I was popping it out of the weeds, and what I was doing was causing a reaction strike. You know, because I was throwing that lure into heavy cover, I chose a heavy setup. This is a heavy action rod with 30-pound test braid. This is 832 Suffix braid, and I was throwing it on my Lose Tournament Speed Spool. This has got a 6:4:1 gear ratio, which is important because I like a higher speed spool because I'm ripping that thing, I'm cranking it, and I'm just going fast. I don't really want a slower gear ratio reel. I want something that's going to pick up a lot of line really fast. You know, a tip that I have is, because I was fishing this lure in the weeds, I was getting hung up a lot, and when I would bring this lure back to the boat, I would notice I'd have a ton of weeds onto the hooks. And a big habit of mine that I used to have was smacking that lure onto the water to clean the weeds off of the lure. But what I would notice was it would chip the paint on this lure, and it also would pop these eyes off. It's got these red eyes that are glued onto there that gives that lure, you know, a little bit more feature on there. But when I was smacking this lure onto the water, I was actually popping those eyes off and causing damage to this lure. So a big tip that I want to say is just take the extra second, is when you bring that lure to the boat, take the extra second, clean the weeds off of that lure and throw it right back in there. It's a little tedious and it takes a little bit longer, but it's going to help you out in the long run. So another big important thing that helped me out yesterday was knowing to be on the north side of the lake. And I say that because especially this time of the year, I'm looking for warmer water. So I chose the north side of the lake because that's where the warmest water is going to be. The wind was blowing out of the south and it was blowing those bait fish right at me. So it was a perfect opportunity to throw this lipless crankbait. You know, I hope you can get out there. I hope you can find those weeds. You know, especially this time of the year, it's super windy. Use that wind to your advantage. Find where those bass are chasing those bait fish. Get out there, throw that lipless crankbait, cause that reaction strike in the weeds, and hopefully you catch some bass.